That hot mess that they air in the mornings called The View had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections, 4 legal notes. Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side. And then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
I think the problem with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in, you know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her. And, you know, they did that with Megyn.
For decades, the narrative has been that a single daytime panel holds the keys to the cultural conversation. However, that status quo just suffered a devastating blow. In a rare alignment of media titans, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly joined forces to dismantle the untouchable aura of The View. Their critique was so surgical and unrelenting that it left the hosts visibly rattled, struggling to maintain their usual air of authority. It was a moment of pure, unscripted tension that proved no one is immune to scrutiny. If you thought these daytime queens were bulletproof, this is your wake-up call. The pedestal didn't just shake, it cracked. Stay tuned, because we're breaking down exactly how these two powerhouses exposed the cracks in the legacy media facade.
Nothing
Just
there.
go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there. Sometimes comics do that.
Yeah, and the other question is then, is that representative of a big constituency? I think probably yes.
Well, a lot of
MSNBC
people,
viewers are probably also thinking,
I don't even think the MSNBC viewers, I think they're a little bit more sophisticated than that.
Yeah. This
is like low information, blue no matter who, like older housewives who are mad at the world. That's the appeal that Whoopi Goldberg.
The scene opens on a typical morning at The View, which quickly descends into what can only be described as a high-definition meltdown. It's a familiar spectacle. 5 seasoned broadcasters talking over one another in a frantic, disjointed symphony. Joy Behar appears caught in a cycle of perpetual moral outrage. Whoopi Goldberg stares into the distance as if mentally checking out of the conversation entirely, and Sunny Hostin seems to be litigating against common sense itself. In this environment, listening is secondary to volume. The audience is conditioned to erupt in cheers at the mere mention of a buzzword, regardless of the context. It's a masterclass in performative chaos, serving as a loud reminder of why traditional formats are losing their grip on reality.
Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, yay, on January 20th of this month. Not everyone's happy about it, and many people would like us to be more focused on the insurrection that he personally unleashed. If you ask them, as we discussed earlier, they think it's as bad as like the Holocaust, and you don't have to take my word for it. Here is Sunny Hostin of The View.
January 6th was an atrocity. It was one of the worst moments in American history. And when you think about the worst moments in American history, you know, like World War II, things that happened, you know, like the Holocaust, chattel slavery.
Yeah, the January 6th is right up there next to the Holocaust.
In the middle of the noise, any attempt at a nuanced thought is immediately buried under a landslide of interruptions and theatrical side-eye from Ana Navarro. This isn't an intellectual exchange. It's a choreographed echo chamber. The show has moved away from honest debate and shifted into a form of group therapy masquerading as journalism. Bathed in expensive studio lighting, the panel projects a heavy cloud of self-importance that practically drifts through the screen. It's a polished bubble where the primary goal isn't to inform, but to reinforce a specific, narrow worldview while patting themselves on the back for doing so.
In fairness, though, I mean, The View has to be, you know, if you average out The View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin's
You think it's deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure. I don't think Sunny's dumb. But Whoopi is certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and you like it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and just couldn't.
Enter Joe Rogan. Known for his no-nonsense approach, Rogan didn't need to shout to make his point. He brought the calm, detached observation of someone who has spent thousands of hours talking to everyone from theoretical physicists to cage fighters. Rogan has seen it all, yet even he seemed bewildered by the theatricality of The View. To a man who values long-form, deep-dive conversations, the frantic 3-minute segments of daytime TV don't look like news. They look like a parody of human interaction. His composure alone acted as a silent indictment of the show's frantic energy.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro in your wildest imagination. You could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space.
Then, Megyn Kelly enters the fray with the focused energy of a veteran prosecutor. This is the woman who refused to be contained by the rigid structures of Fox or NBC, proving she was too independent for the corporate mold. Now, operating on her own terms, she arrives with receipts and a deep understanding of media hypocrisy. Kelly doesn't just criticize, she dissects. While Joy Behar is busy framing everything through a partisan lens, Rogan and Kelly act as a formidable tag team. Rogan calls out their lack of research and the wellness retreat improv vibe of the show, while Kelly systematically highlights their logical contradictions. Together, they reduced the panel's credibility with the efficiency of a professional legal brief.
That hot mess that they air in the mornings, called The View, had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. 4 legal notes. We only have 3 of them on camera, but look at this.
I have another legal note.
Oh, my God.
Both Trump and Pam Bondi have denied allegations of a quid pro quo. I have a legal note.
You want to take this one, Joy, or are you
Matt
good?
Gaetz has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime.
That's true.
Also, another legal note. Pete Hegseth's lawyer said he paid the woman in 2023 to head off the threat of a baseless lawsuit. He has denied any wrongdoing.
Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side, and then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a
Rogan acts as the sledgehammer of common sense, while Kelly is the scalpel cutting through the performative outrage. The result? A moment where the hosts, particularly Whoopi, look genuinely stunned. For years, The View existed in a protected media sanctuary where the only requirement was to sound morally superior. That protection evaporated the moment Rogan and Kelly applied real-world logic. They aren't seeking approval from the brunch crowd or legacy media gatekeepers. They value raw honesty over virtue signaling. When the panel tried to dismiss figures like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. with eye rolls instead of arguments, they were caught completely unprepared for a factual counteroffensive.
Because I think Sunny's very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
You know, I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones, don't have to name any names, who are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart, but captured.
Sure, I think she came into it with an agenda.
Of course.
You know,
they do everything with it.
The conflict escalated when the panel began framing dissenting opinions as dangerous to society, by suggesting that independent podcasting is a threat to democracy simply because it allows guests to speak uninterrupted. They essentially declared war on open dialogue. Rogan's response was characteristically steady. He pointed out the obvious. The hosts frequently attack content they haven't actually watched. They trade in staged outrage and moral shine, much like a critic reviewing a book they've only glanced at the cover of. It's a performance designed for applause, not for the pursuit of truth.
Melania Trump came out and said she's about as pro-choice as they come. And here was the reaction on The View.
I think she hates him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all
That's a
agree on
given.
that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out. She does not want to be the first lady anymore.
They agree with you.
She doesn't want to be the first lady. She destroyed the Rose Garden. Who hates Christmas? Melania Trump hates Christmas. She doesn't want to decorate for Christmas. She doesn't want to have anything to do with him.
about that, yeah.
She doesn't want to sleep in the same room with him. She can't tolerate him.
Would you Look, this is a network that still runs out fact checks to these women, like it's concerned about them staying factual. She hates Trump. She doesn't want to be near him. She doesn't want to be president again. She destroyed the Rose Garden, and she hates Christmas. That is what passes for news on a network they did a presidential.
Rogan didn't need to resort to insults. He simply used their own footage by lining up their contradictions side by side with the facts. He let the comedy of their errors speak for itself. His tone wasn't one of anger, but of the quiet disappointment a teacher feels toward a student who clearly plagiarized their homework. He highlighted the laziness of skimming headlines and treating social media tropes as researched facts. As Rogan's takedown resonated, Kelly followed up with a surgical strike, exposing the show's outrage formula. She highlighted the absurdity of the panel's selective offense, where they demand sensitivity for their causes while mocking their opponents with zero restraint.
I have no hate for Joy Behar. If I saw her, I'd give her a hug. I'd probably say the same thing about me if I was her. You're worried about losing your job, and you're worried about podcasts taking over, and who's the source of news, and we said Donald Trump was Hitler, but half the country disagreed with us, and he won, and this is fucking great, and Joe Rogan believes in drag.
According to Kelly, free speech on The View is a one-way street. She specifically took aim at Behar and Hostin, dismantling the moral guardian personas they've cultivated. Kelly exposed how the show treats any woman who disagrees with the panel's consensus as a traitor to the cause. This creates a stifling environment where the only safe opinion is the one voiced by the moderator. However, the most damaging part of the critique wasn't the personality clash, it was the research. While the panel relied on feelings, Rogan and Kelly cited transcripts and full-context videos, making the daytime hosts look woefully unprepared.
See what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said that Biden could arrest all the Republicans and put them in jail. You just need to see how unhinged this kind of thinking is. Well, you know what Joe Biden could do? Joe Biden, you have to see it, because it's so
on TV.
crazy.
She said
on television.
You know, just let's look at a scenario where the Supreme Court says, yes, he has that. He has all those rights. He is immune from everything. Yeah. You know what Joe Biden could do since he is presently president?
What?
Whoa. He could throw every Republican in jail.
The embarrassment peaked when the claims made on The View were held up to the light. They had labeled certain discussions as dangerous, only for Kelly to show clips of the actual segments, which were often mundane conversations about health or personal experiences. It turns out the hate they claimed Rogan was spreading was actually a veteran discussing mental health. Kelly didn't just challenge the narrative, she buried it under a mountain of context. By the time they were done, the authoritative voice of daytime TV had been reduced to a whisper of misinformation.
I don't know.
Hey, this is the most important part. This was right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest fucking statement. Like you didn't listen to what I said. Yeah. You didn't listen to what the wildlife biologist, and that's only a part of it.
In the end, this wasn't just a feud. It was an exposure of a dying media model. While The View clings to its applause cues and scripted righteousness, the audience is moving toward creators who offer transparency and deep dives. Rogan and Kelly don't pretend to be infallible, which is exactly why they are winning. They represent a world where logic beats volume and research beats vibes. As the hosts struggle to remain relevant in a landscape that values facts over theater, it becomes clear that the untouchable queens of TV might finally be facing a reality they can't talk over.